and so I invite you to look them up and spend time with them yourself. I purposely, with the Amethyst, I picked flat bottom ones, so you can actually, if you want, use them on clients, or put them around the massage, put that on the massage table, it won't slide off, but I was mindful about that. But they're all very powerful stones.
Yes.
And so I hope they serve you well. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sure they will.
So, without further ado, Eric Olson is going to be teaching us about drums. And his first question when I got here, he said, "So, what type of drum circles do you do?" And I'm like, "Well, what kind are there?" And so I waited. We said, "Well, let's wait till everyone gets here." So, I met Eric when I was living in Alpharetta and attending, and I'm an active member. I'm still a member. I'm just not active of Unity North Atlanta. I still consider it a home community, spiritual community. And I loved his enthusiasm and his energy. He has the same passion for the drums that I do for the bowls, and so I really appreciate that and connect with him on that level. And we see each other, and there's a mutual respect. And he's a lot of the wellness fairs. He's always there with drums, and just his presence it just lifts everyone's energy. So, Eric, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Eric Olson, that's me. I've been playing drums since I was, carry the one divided by about 6 years old. I have to blame Carlos Santana for my love of drumming. My father was in the Air Force. He would bring home reel-to-reels of all the and bands, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Seals and Cross. I called them the and bands. I was 6, why not? And one came home labeled Woodstock. And I put it on, and the very first song was Soul Sacrifice, the live version from Woodstock, with that insane drum solo by Michael Shreve. He did more with a 4-piece drum set than most jazz progressive rock drummers can do today. He's absolutely incredibly talented, still playing with it too. So my love of drumming started when I was 6. My first drum set was a bedside metal lamp and coffee tins, just stretched out in front of me. I got my first Roach drum set that Christmas, and my life has never been the same. So I think this is Cindy showing up.
Come on.
We're just doing the introduction, so welcome.
Welcome.
Sorry for making a set. It's all right. It happens.
Perfectly fine.
But I brought cookies.
Yay!
All is forgiven.
You got
There.
it.
Wow.
That's good for you.
Yeah.
That's why she was late.
No, that's not why I was late. I had to wash those last few dishes, and I'm like, holy crap, gotta go.
So it's just an introduction to a little bit of my history and why I love drumming as much as I do. And my sister is an artist as well. She works with beadwork, and she also plays with flute. My mother and father were both consummate artists. My dad is still an artist. He uses welding and stuff to create images and statues and gorgeous sculptures. So yeah, I was bound to be an artist somehow. I just wound up hitting things that make sound good. And I was in a band for a while. I gave you guys a story until I did one of my very first gigs. And got a couple of albums under my belt. Opened up some really cool bands. Then I had kids, and so I was not at a point in my career as a musician where I could follow that. So I put the drums down, walked away from that, and met my current wife, who happens to be a belly dancer.
Yeah.
And on our second date, I'm cooking dinner at my house, and I have this incredibly old, dilapidated $30 Pier 1 imports djembe sitting in the corner, gathering dust. It had a nice crack running down the stem. And she looked at the djembe. She looked back at me and said, "What's that?" I said, "It's a djembe." She said, "What is it doing?" I said, "Gathering dust." She said, "It shouldn't." I said, "I know." So I picked it up. It sounded like crap, but I was playing it. She was dancing across the room, and now here I am.
Yay.
Wow. I started to bring my sachet. Do that.
So you play for belly dancers now?
yes and no.
Hey,
It's like the
buddy,
Tina
that's
Turner album,
one.
Carpet Dancing.
No, it's called date night.
So long as they're involved, and that's all I'm saying. So, but no, I've gone. The only way I can describe it is that when you connect with the drum takes you on a journey, and what that journey looks like, it's individual. And for me, it has led me into an amazing community of people who gather together in a drum circle to just be. And that's what I was asking Gabriel about originally was, what kind of drum circles are you guys facilitating? Because there are different things that you can do in a drum circle. There's many, many different things that you can do in a drum circle. And you're running more of a spiritual one, which is awesome. And I'll get into that as well, but I'll describe a few other things that you can do in a drum circle, which makes it engaging and fun. Not that spiritualism in a drum circle isn't, but there are things that you can do that liven it up. And your job as a facilitator is to fire yourself over the course of a drum circle.
Fire yourself?
Fire yourself.
What does that mean?
Get rid of you're getting out of the way. You are no longer in control. You
Oh,
are in control of your life.
Okay,
Fire yourself.
Not with fire.
I have a job, and I no longer have a job because the group has been taken over because you've led them into that consciousness. Now, before I go any further, I need to let you know my lineage as a facilitator, because it's very important you know where this information is coming from. I am a member of the Village Music Circle community, which is used to be, and he's retired because he's done his job, by Arthur Hull, the godfather of the American Drum Circle. Arthur Hull jammed with Mickey Hart from the Grateful Dead, Babatunde Olatunji, who was a djembe fola back in the 60s and 70s out in San Francisco. And Arthur has played on countless number of albums as a musician. He guided the American Drum Circle from what he called thunder drumming, which is just a bunch of hippies in a circle pounding the crap out of drums, into
What do we do now?
into a facilitated event, taking people from individual into group consciousness. And it's an amazing thing to watch and witness. And your job, like I said, as a facilitator, is to facilitate yourself out of the circle. It's called get out of the way or go. And it's an amazing thing to experience. And what happens over the course of the drum circle is you as the facilitator will intervene and do a couple of things. Like, I'll give an example here. 4, 3, 2, 1, and back to the groove, go. And you lead them into things like that. And you have to be very engaging, because it's really interesting that the drum circle is not about you, but it kind of is. Because you're the one in the middle of the circle going, do this, X, Y, and Z, and follow along. And it's your job to bring them on that journey. And that's why it's kind of comic in a way, especially when you screw up, which I have done a few times doing this. And you just laugh at yourself, get the crowd back into it, and move on. Because not everybody in the circle here's what you hear in your head. Okay? So a good example is, everybody have drums here? Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to start off with an example. I would like everybody to get their drum out, and I'm going to start a rhythm. I'm going to explain why hearing is very important, and you hear different stuff than the people in the outside. I'll show you how. So.
Are you okay if I record you?
Absolutely.
Good. Because I was.
There you go. There you go.
Better to ask forgiveness.
And what would you have done if he said no?
What you don't know is I charge $50 per word. So anyway.
I'll have to catch you in the next line.
There you go. All right, so I'm going to start a rhythm, and what I'm going to do, here's what we're going to do, how this is going to work. I'm going to start just doing this, and you guys are going to go on with it, but I'm going to point point at you. When I point at you, I want you to stop playing and walk into the middle of the circle. And listen. Don't do anything, just listen. Walk around the circle and hear the difference in the tones and the qualities around you, because again, it's not about you, it's about everybody else in the circle, and it's really interesting as a facilitator. And that's why you see facilitators moving in and around and listening, because we're trying to catch you in what you're doing. All right, so here we go. So I'm going to start with you. It's Cindy, right?
Kim?
Kim, Gabriel,
Mark.
Ray.
Ray,
You forgot how Ray? It's Karen.
Karen. I was going to say Kelly, but Karen. It took me 6 months to remember Cindy's name. She's been my student ever since I started. So anyway, here we
At
go.
least you didn't
Not
say your
me.
wife.
Yeah. Here we go.
Cindy's been holding out on us.
Okay, here we go.
There's another Cindy.
All right. Go ahead. Everybody with me. Just basically nice and simple. There you go. All right. And play it. Really hit it. Really hit it. Make it nice and loud. There you go. There you go. Just until you hear the differences. Until you hear something different from what you were hearing inside. Hear anything different? Hear somebody-
My ears closed, so I don't hear very well anymore.
So it's a little different. Yes, exactly. Go ahead, continue. Hear how the sound shifts as you move. Hear it?
It's more individual.
Yeah. Continue to play. Thank you. Hear it? Awesome. There you go. There you go. Four, three, two, one, and nice. So facilitation is about listening and understanding what the crowd is playing, what the people around you are doing. And that goes for any kind of circle. Spiritual kind of circle, you can put your drums down. Spiritual kind of circle, community circle, teaching circle. And that goes into the topic of what kind of drum circles are there. There's the kind at the beach the hour before sunset where you have over 65 different players and they're just beating the crap out of their drums with no facilitation whatsoever.
And they're going off, and the rhythm is awesome. And you see dancers out in the middle of the circle, and they're having a great time. And it's just rhythm. It's just people enjoying themselves, enjoying the sand, enjoying the sun, and enjoying playing together. But there's no real direction to the drum circle. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's where drum circles started back in the 60s and 50s. And Arthur Hall took that and became more of a facilitation event. So that comes into the facilitated drum circles, where you've got people like me who help you as a group become one. And you take that rhythm and you do something with it. And then I could talk about it for hours. It's literally a week-long course in facilitating a drum circle. But you start off, this is the 10,000 foot view. You start off with full group intervention, what we just did, for instance, 4, 3, 2, 1, cut. Then you do segments of a group, and you sculpt them out, and you have that group do something. Then you move into individual sculpting, and you build songs from the rhythm of the people. And that's why listening, walking around and hearing the different parts of a drum circle is so important, especially when you have different instruments. When you're playing with frame drums, it's difficult because you're doing kind of the same thing. What we were just doing is the same 1, 2, 3, 4. There's not a lot of variation. But you can still hear a tonality and a quality of a drum that's different from someone else's drum that you might want to highlight. And I want you to play louder. Or, hey, let me get you to play on top of everybody else. And you start sculpting little tiny bits of that song in there. And it's just, you just got to be cognizant of what everybody's doing if you're going to facilitate that. So it's very important as a facilitator to pay attention to what's going on in the circle and never let it fade. You'll shift, especially if you're playing with different instruments, you'll be shifting slowly from one song into another the entire night. And other times you'll completely stop it and start a whole new song on, just because the rhythm's lagged and there's nothing else you can do. Is everybody here doing shamanic stuff with their drum circles? You're not? What kind of drum circle are you running?
No.
You're not? Oh, okay. You said you were doing more of a spiritual shamanic kind of stuff.
I haven't done a lot, but I've done some when people in the labyrinth. We go to the labyrinth in the backyard.
Okay.
So, and I've done some shamanic at sweat lodges.
Awesome.
No.
Are you running anything at all, or you're just not?
I mean, I don't do any kind of, I've never really been to a drum circle except for us practicing here
Sure.
at a drum circle,
Mhm.
and I've never been on a shamanic journey per se.
Right.
But it's always been intriguing to me, and I relish this opportunity. So.
I participated in the shamanic stuff, but I'm hoping to start one where I live at.
Okay.
For grief counseling, people to shift their brain,
Yeah.
so to calm them down, and so I'm learning that the beats, they stimulate the brain in ways to be able to stop you from being stuck in that
Mm-hmm.
thought pattern.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, when you're talking shamanic, historically, have the pagans done much Wiccan with drums?
Oh,
that
yeah.
You know of?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I've been doing the last 4 years at Pagan Unity Festival, Drums in the Swamp, and oh God, it's so much
I
fun.
love that.
Reunion of the Spirits.
What was the third one?
Reunion of the Spirits, held by the same groups who does Drums in the Swamp. And in all 3 of them, I just started showing up as a participant, but I have wound up becoming the facilitator of the space for the drum circles every night at the festivals. So yes, to answer your question, absolutely. And it's not just frame drums, which I want to encourage you to allow other instruments to come into play, because the frame drum is not the only drum you can meditate with. This is my sacred djembe. I meditate with this bad boy right here. And you got that nice drum. Absolutely, that'll take you places you've never been before on that frame drum. And I'm terribly sorry. I should turn this off.
So I'm gonna keep asking dumb questions.
No, there's no such thing as a dumb question. The only dumb question is once never asked.
That's exactly what I've told my clients for 35 years.
There we
You
go.
mentioned there are others than a frame drum. So what would a drum be that doesn't have, I can't picture how you could have a drum without a frame.
That particular drum is a frame drum. This is a djembe. This is called an ashiko. What I'm saying that for meditative purposes, you'll hear a lot of folks gravitate towards that constant drone on the frame drum, which is what you guys all have.
And that's our point of reference, doing them in group sound meditations.
Right.
And for private treatments.
Yes, exactly. But this one, I meditate with this and I heal with this one as well.
So I see a structure there, but you don't call that a frame.
No, this is called the djembe, D-J-E-M-B-E. It is a membranophone, which is your frame drum is also called a membranophone. It's a piece of wood that a piece of skin has been stretched over. That's the membranophone family. I hope that answers your question, and I hope I'm understanding.
Sort of.
Okay.
Because it's the casing is out of wood. It's carved completely out of wood.
The
And
ones
bottom
that you're
part they call
holding
a
right there
foot.
is called a frame drum.
Yeah, the bottom part's a foot,
That's a
and the
djembe.
top part is a bowl.
This is the stem. This is the bowl.
Yeah. Some people call it feet or foot.
Okay.
And the frame drum itself has a huge family of drums that are like that. You have the tak from Arabia, is it Saudi Arabia? Yeah, and it's got amazing little tiny rings around the entire outside of it. So it's almost like a tambourine, but it's much quieter and they're huge. They're like this big, and it sounds like rain and a shaker when you're playing it. You've also got the boran from Ireland. I like the roll the R; it just sounds better. So and that's the one you play with the stick like this, and I can't do that ever. Even though I played this way with drums, I can't change my hand. It's weird. So anyway, then you've got the rick from Egypt, which is much smaller, and the cymbals on it are a lot bigger. So you have the frame drum itself is a huge family of drums, and these membranophones have a very large family as well. The djembe, the bugarabu, the dundunba, the ashiko. I know you were saying we were going to learn a lot about the djembe, but you're asking a question, so I'm answering the best as I possibly can.
No, this is great.
So be open when you're running your drum circle, especially meditative ones, for drums from a different family, because they'll offer a completely different flair. And I'll give you an example of something that I meditate with, and if you can imagine this on top of that simple drone, this is one thing that I meditate with constantly. And you got that boom, 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 boom going on your frame drum. You have that going in the background, and then you got somebody with a shaker or something over there. It creates a whole brand new thing to meditate to. Yes.
With circles and things, how does tempo impact people's journeys or their physiological in terms of starting to feel revved up, starting to feel very relaxed, going on a journey? I mean, how does tempo and rhythm?
That is a very excellent question, and the only way I can answer that is it's based on a person's physiology.
So it's intuitive.
Some folks might find it jittery, but some folks might actually just calm out, you know. And the idea of meditation is not necessarily to relax. Meditation is to get that brain focused on a single thought pattern of either number, breath, rhythm, something, so that it tunes out everything else. And that's at least my experience. I could be 100% wrong. Yeah. So the idea of a shamanic journey, I have 3 different shamanic journeying CDs, and it's all the same thing. It's this. But you have an intro, which is the call, and then you've got that rhythm going constantly. Then you have the outro, which brings you back to reality. That right there, for me, that triplet rhythm is very meditative because it's the same thing over and over and over again. It's a repetition. And you get to a point where it's just your body is, it's muscle memory. You know exactly what to do and how to do it, and your brain can check out.
And we still have that same theory. That's the same theory we apply with the bowls. Once you get a drone or a harmony going, you stay with it.
Exactly
Because
correct.
It's that staying with that repetitious, whether you're patterning with the Himalayans or singing a chord or just two bowls, by staying with it, that's what just brings people, out there.
Absolutely. And your job, I guess, as facilitator, to answer your question, is to notice the reaction of the folks who are laying in front of you, sitting in front of you. I have several different options for clients. You can either lay on a yoga mat, you can sit in a chair, you can lay on a massage table, you can stand. I'll still heal you with this drum right here. It doesn't matter to me. And this is something else too that I've discovered in my journey and the work that I do. A person's energy is going to tell you what they need to have played. A person's energy will dictate to you the rhythm, the speed, and the affectation of that tempo that you need to play. And I'm going to try and mimic a frame drum. When I started, I had a frame drum that I worked off with, and what I found was it was lacking something, but I was still able to get things accomplished. So your head might want, and then have a break, but your knees might want something like to that effect. And so the person's energy is going to tell you what tempo, what rhythm, and what else it needs. So pay attention to the people who are there. If some start to get kind of weirded out a little bit, back off the tempo, back off the volume a little bit and bring it down. And that gets into the science of things. How does vibration work? How does this stuff do what it's supposed to do? Well, grab your drum. You're not going to play, but grab a drum and just put your hand very lightly on the membrane. Just very lightly. Put a hand right there. We're going right there. All right. There's a loud noise. Probably going to hear the ceiling shake, but did you feel the drum?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I felt it a minute ago when you did, and I had my hand up.
Okay, put your drums down there. Science quiz. How does sound travel?
Waves.
Waves. Waves.
Yes, but how does it travel?
Yeah, like that?
It's in a sphere. You heard this up here rattle. Your drums themselves, you felt the membranes vibrate. You felt it in your feet. I hope. Because this has been my game. She makes floors shake. So yes, sound does travel in waves, but from the point of origin, sound is a sphere, and it travels in waves outward from that point of origin. Because you could hear it up there, you could hear it out there, you could hear it back this way, you could hear it over here, you could hear it. It's a sphere. Now, let's shift focus and talk about the body. You're made up of cells. Those cells have electrons that are constantly going spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. So even when you're laying dead asleep at night with the drool coming out your mouth on the pillow and you're not moving, your cells are still vibrating at a frequency. They're still going crazy. Right? How many of you have been to a concert and felt your body affected by that sound?
Yeah.
That's what's going on. The sound is penetrating you, causing those electrons that are spinning to go, oh yeah, that's cool. And thus you are affected by sound.
Like in a sound bath.
Exactly. That's exactly what a sound bath does. You fill the room with that vibration and that tone, and that vibrates into you, and you catch up onto that frequency. So imagine what happens when I strap this guy on and I drum on somebody with the intention of healing them. I had a guy who unfortunately lost his battle, but he had incredibly bad hips. Whenever he walked in, he was, into our drum circle, he was not doing so hot. And he came up to me after I healed him for the very first time, and he said, "Holy crap, I jumped right up after you were done. How did you do that?" That wasn't me, dude. That was you. You told me what to play, and your body accepted it. The vibrations went in, it did its thing, out. Now again, you have to be very careful here because it's not medical. You cannot
Treat or diagnose.
Yes, you cannot treat or diagnose. You can only just give them temporary relief. And I always back things up with but please go to your doctor, just be sure. And so it's a wonderful experience. And that rhythm, that vibration, that stuff is what takes people on the journeys. That's the science behind the spiritualism. That makes sense? It's all vibration, and it's all in being accepting, very big. The client has to be accepting of what you're about to do. Because if they aren't open to the possibility that you're about to completely take them on an acid trip without them ever dropping a tab, it's, they won't get it. They just won't. And you as the facilitator have to be open to the possibility that your client just isn't going to accept it. And I've had a couple of those happen, Nothing happened and, I'm sorry, I did my best. So on the spiritualistic drum circle, your job as a facilitator is a lot different from a community drum circle where it is to fire yourself over the course of whatever. But in a shamanic drum circle, if your participants are soaking in the vibrations like in a sound bath, your job is to watch them. Make sure that they stay in that space as long as you want them to. However, if your participants are joining you in drumming, here's a cool little trick. Blindfold them. Oh, yeah. Have them blindfold themselves, of course. This is not one of those things. Okay. Wrong bar, dude. Okay, I'm out. Wait, was there a cover chart? I don't know. Anyway,
That makes sense because this last one that I facilitated, I kept saying, close your eyes, close your eyes.
Yeah.
So blindfold, yeah.
I had a very visceral experience. This is why I suggest this. And I'll describe my experience so that you can understand what it's like. At Drums in the Swamp, I met a wonderful, wonderful man by the name of Patch, short for Patrick. And he is a spiritualistic drummer, but he knows the culture of the drum. So he plays a lot of West African stuff, sparsed in with his own flair. And he's a phenomenal drummer. I mean, oh my God, he's amazing. But we're playing one night, and the bonfire at Drums in the Swamp it'll fit about 2/3 this circle. That's how big it is. And it's a 30-yard diameter circle of sand that the dancers get to run around the fire. It's, oh God, it's so much fun. And there's this really nice pavilion where the drummers are sitting off, and it's myself, Patch is over here, another gentleman named Risa, he's sitting here. We all have, long hair, so we got our hair tucked back underneath, handkerchiefs, or I wear a buff. And we're going to town. And I look over and Patch has got over his eyes. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool. And then Risa, same thing. He pulled his down. I'm like, here we go. And we're going. And then what happened next, the only way I can describe it is there were no longer 3 players. There was only 1 player. And it wasn't just me. It was the 3 of us together as a single unit. The drums melded into one drum. And this, God, I have no idea how long it went because time just went away. And when you're blindfolded and you open your eyes, you aren't shocked back into reality like you were. You were describing about, you came back, right? But that doesn't happen when you're blindfolded because you may open your eyes And for me, since it was just a buff and it's like a stretchy fabric, all I saw was like an outline of a fuzzy fire in front of me and these very weird kind of fuzzy shadows as the dancers ran and danced between me and the fire. And it was so cool. And I was still there in that space in my journey. So imagine what that would do with you as a facilitator having 5 people blindfold themselves in a drum circle when you're in that, you know it's clicking, you know it's going, and they're going, yeah. Okay, boop, blindfolded, now go. It's a completely different experience because that forces them into that space of otherness, of elsewhere. It's cool. That's all I can say. I think we drummed like that for maybe an hour and a half. I don't know. But I played until the sunrise that morning, so yeah. That was one of the things about this Drums in the Swamp was they had an all-night drum vigil. On Friday night, we started at 10 o'clock and we drummed until the sun came up. Unbelievable. And that's when we did the blindfold. So I suggest a blindfold, cautiously at first, and say that this is just for the benefit of your experience with the rhythm, especially if they're playing. If they're playing, that's very cool. Just see what happens. But you don't blindfold yourself. You've got to keep watch of these guys. It's your job not to let them go too far out. You got to get them back. You don't want to be sued for them, crossing over into different alternate realities. And, all of a sudden they're replaced with another spirit. That's weird, But yeah, blindfolding is really cool. And it enhances the science I was talking about. And it goes back to when you were walking around the circle and you were hearing every other player play. Because, like I said, it wasn't just me and it wasn't just my drum. It all of a sudden was all 3 of our drums together making that single note. And I could not tell my drum from Patch's drum from Rice's drum. And during that time, we didn't solo, we didn't put any flair, we didn't do anything other than meditate. And that's why this drum is just as good as a meditative drum as your frame drum is. Especially if the person knows what they're doing on the drum. Because this may seem like a very simple thing, but it's a very complex instrument, and it has a ton of different voices that you can make out of it. And that's why I meditate with this one. I like to get fast on my meditations. I have what you call wandering brain. I have the mad monkey brain when I try to meditate. It just keeps going and going and going. This gets me centered, and I'm using all of my appendages. Well, yeah, because I'm tapping my foot as well, and then my brain just shuts up, and I can meditate. So, when Gabriel asked me here, I was kind of concerned that this is my mode of transport. Well, you guys use a much simpler drum. Except for boring, because man, that thing is complicated. And some other frame drums you can actually use 2 hands on. I don't know. Have you ever seen players like that?
Yeah.
Shane Shanahan is great. Shane Shanahan is fantastic at it. Glenn Velez. Oh, if you want some amazing CDs, look up Glenn Velez's Rhythms of the Chakras. That'll take you on a journey. Yeah, write that down. That's good stuff. Glenn Velez, Rhythms of the Chakras. 2 CDs. I'll take you there, definitely on a journey. I'll tell you what, Gabriel, I'll send you a link, and you can send it out to the rest of the group. So there we go. We'll make that easy. Now you get to the point where, okay, this beat here is awesome, but I want something different. I want something new. Start experimenting with different ways of approaching that rhythm. Play around on the head. Find the different tones and the quality of that drum. Because that drum also has several different voices. And try playing with your hand instead of the mallet. See what happens there. And that drum will start speaking to you. Does everybody know the concept of a sacred drum? everyone know what I mean when I say sacred drum? This is my sacred djembe.